Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I have a scrapbook layout for you today and I'm going to be documenting some DIY projects. This is my youngest son Clayton and his grandpa, they call him Papa Jake, and they're rebuilding a fence between my front door and my in-laws house. So it turned out so beautiful. So we have kind of the process here, and Papa Jake is teaching Clayton how to make this look really nice and polished. They did a good job, but I'm going to be using the Good Life collection. And also this stamp and thin cut set called Nailed It. It's all DIY and tools and just really fun items if you do a lot of DIY projects around the house. I also thought it'd be fun to try and incorporate this stencil. There's like a little ruler image on the side, and since they're, like a tape measure is what I was thinking of. I know it's hard to see that. Let me grab the catalog. This stencil is in the new Essentials catalog, and if you flip to page 33 you can see the different stencils. If you caught my catalog walkthrough, you know I did not with this one, but this is a rotating stencil. I actually used this one and did a little demo of what that looks like and then made some cards from it. But this is the stencil here it's got brick and you can make a clock. There's a great title on here, Life is Measured by Moments in Time. And then there's that, it could be like a tape measure, or you could do so many things with this, and it doesn't have to be like on a tool page. I could think of so many ways to incorporate that just for some background interest. I love it. So we're going to be using that. And then, as I mentioned, the Good Life collection, I do have quite a bit of scraps that I will probably try to incorporate left over from the first. That's actually a pocket card from the Cosette collection, but I thought it went along, so I pulled it out. But yeah, I've got these, so I might try to use these first before cutting into anything else. And as you can see, I've got 3 photos, and these 2 are a little bit odd sized, 4 by 5.5, and then that's a 3 by 4. So let me set these aside here, grab my VersaMat. Since there's only 3 photos, this is going to be a single page layout. Let me put down just a few glue dots here so this doesn't move around. And I typically use white daisy, but I thought it'd be fun to maybe build this on a sheet of mink cardstock, because mink is a featured color in this collection. With my photos, I was kind of picturing like this little collage, and I've got, this one here where Clayton's looking, and then a smaller one where they're just kind of, just working on the fence there. So there's a lot of just kind of randomness in the corner of the photo that's not important. So I can overlap this one. And then I thought I might put this one kind of down here like this. I want all of this showing because it's like the finished shot here. So maybe something of that nature. There's so many different ways you can, work your photos. You could do something like this and even put this one kind of down here. I love making nooks and crannies. If I did it like this, I'd probably put my title right there and then have like an embellishment there and maybe my journaling here. But I think I am going to go with this option here because I have an idea for that ruler stencil and I want to run it down the side of the page this way. So we're going to go like this, and you'll see it still makes nooks and crannies. So I've got kind of some space here, here, and here that I can kind of incorporate titles, journaling, and embellishments. I mentioned having these scraps, and I want to just kind of play around with these first. I definitely want to use this because it has a ledger paper on there. I love the scripty writing. There's so much detail already in this, sheet of paper here. It just does a lot of the work for you. And then I've got this one. I don't want to do the gingham, maybe the wood grain, because they're doing some woodworking here, so I can kind of see how these are going to look. Whoops. And then I want to leave room because I know I want to do some stenciling on the side. So I want the paper layers kind of in the center also. So I could do something like that. I don't know if I really like the wood grain against this one. They're just kind of, blurring together a little bit. Let's try this paper here and see how that one looks. This is a background or a bonus paper from the workshop collection. It was 12 by 12. I did already use some of that in the first layout I created. I can already tell you I like the photos on this one better. It has some interest with that visual texture, but the photos, the contrast is better and they're standing out much, much better. Yep, that's the winner. I'm going to go ahead and trim this one down so we have a little room on the top and the bottom there. So I cut this to 10.5. So we have a 3/4 inch area on the top and bottom there. And then it is, for those of you that like measurements, it is 6 3/4, and I just thought it was already that size, so I just decided to go with it. And then this one is 12 inches by 5.5. So we'll put that one there and that one there. And before I get, kind of carried away with all of this, I'm going to add my stenciling. I was already playing around with this, so you can see we've got some ink staining on there, and that's okay. It does not hurt it at all. So I think that I want my measurements running up the side here like this. So I can either have the numbers on the outside or I can have them on the inside. I think I kind of want the numbers inside the layout. I think I'm going to split the difference here so it's kind of evenly spaced within the confines of this paper. I've got just a little bit of low tack tape that I'm going to secure that to my layout with, and then make sure it's straight, of course. We'll go right over here with this one. Actually, I'm going to tape that more to my VersaMat because that is going to move around on me. So we'll go right there. That looks pretty straight, but let's just check it with our T-square ruler here. Make sure that that is lined up and perfect. I thought about using a tone on tone and using mink ink, but I think I want to accent with Mocha, and I don't really want it full strength, so I have a piece of scratch paper here just to kind of blot that off. Let me set these aside. We don't want to get ink all over everything. Make some room here. And what I'm going to do is I've got a soft bristled brush. This is great for detailed stencils. Just get it nice and inky and then blot it off, and then just use a very light hand, and you can always add more. So don't be afraid to just kind of start out, lift it up, take a sneak peek, and then you can make it darker if you want to make it darker. In the beginning, I was saying that I can think of so many ways that you can use this ruler image. The literal, applications that come to mind would be like this, any type of construction type layout, but also it'd be great for back to school or any school themed projects, or babies as you grow, or kids for that matter, just kind of, documenting growth. Let me just take a quick peek at that. You know what? That does look really good. Let's go ahead and ink up the edge of this while we're at it. I think a background texture with this ruler would look great on like a heritage or vintage style page. And then of course, more literal translations, anything like if you're sewing or, crafts that involve measuring and you're documenting those photos, it would be great on there too. I'm a sucker for stencils because they're inexpensive, they don't take a lot of room, and you can always just do so many fun things with them. Let's go ahead and bring this back in. I'm thinking we need a little stenciling on the right-hand side. There's this big clock element. So there's a little outer circle, and then they have the clock hands. I am thinking of maybe just not making a clock, but we'll just have the circular element coming out from under the pattern paper. I am using the Mist ink, which is another coordinating color with this Good Life collection. And I'm just going to do about half of that because, we don't need to go and do the whole thing. It's going to be covered up there. So let's see how this looks. Yeah, that just makes a cool kind of graphic element on the page. I like it, but I think we need one down here just to kind of offset that and create like a diagonal angle to draw your eye down. I think that's going to look really good. Let me grab some of my tape. I reuse these bits of tape until they don't stick anymore. I stick them on my shelf right in front of me until they're falling off. But let's use the same mist color. Let me get those out of the way. And again, this is going to come out from underneath the pattern paper, so we don't need the whole circle, just a portion of it. Layering stencils like this is fun too, especially if you want to try it with like texture paste or glitter gels or anything of that nature. Really fun to do. I will frequently bring my paper back in just to kind of take it all in as a whole, and I do think it needs a little bit more interest on the right-hand side. So this is the toffee ink color, and then I have the design element stamp. You can see there's some really neat textures. I've been using this kind of crackly one quite a bit. I really like this one, and I'm going to just stamp it overlapping that circle. I'm going to move or turn this so it's a little bit easier for me to see, and then ink up my stamp. I can slide this pattern paper out of the way, and again, I just want a tiny little bit peeking out. I grabbed toffee because I wanted a lighter color, and I'm going to bring some toffee in the embellishments. I probably should have gone a little farther out with that, but I think it's good. Let's bring in a strip of Mocha and see how that looks. I do like that. It just helps define those edges there. I think that'll probably do it for the background. We can go ahead and bring back in our photos and get those situated. And I'm going to put my title on the left. So let's bump these over to the right just a little bit. Then we can go ahead and start working on all of our embellishments with that fun stamp. Now I'm going to be doing a lot of stamping. So I got my second VersaMat. I'm flipping it over and I'm going to be working on that foam side. I've got some toffee here and then a little bit of white daisy and my Nailed It stamp set. I did get this with the coordinating thin cuts. And then I'm just going to stamp a bunch of images. I don't know exactly what I'm going to use. I know I definitely want the toolbox. And then I'm going to just stamp all of the tools. There's a hammer and then the drill. We've got nails, a screwdriver. There's a level, all sorts of fun things. And then that Nailed It stamp is going to be my title. How many of you have DIY home projects going on right now? Or maybe you've done them in the past couple years and you've documented the process. It's so fun to look at the before and afters. In fact, that's my husband's favorite thing. When he's looking through our albums, he'll be like, wow, look at what the yard looked like back then and how far it's come. Or, I remember when the house was like that. And it's just really fun to see the progression of things. I'm stamping the toolbox right onto toffee paper with Mocha ink, but for the rest of the images, I am using intense black ink. I'm going to color those in with my Spectrum Noir TriBlend markers, and this ink is the best ink that I have that isn't going to bleed when I go over those lines with the marker. So I'm not sure what I'm going to use. I'm just going to stamp all of these, and then I will have all of these fun custom embellishments to play with on my layout. So we've got some nails here, and when you're doing multiple, it's actually easier to stack up a few layers of paper, die cut them, and then, stamp right on the die cut pieces, and those would be easy enough to line up. That one didn't quite stamp well. Let's do one more of the screwdrivers there. Now, for my title, I have this decorative little element, and I'm stamping this one in Mocha ink, and it's going to say Nailed It, like they did an awesome job. And the little faux stitching around this bracket, I use this all the time for sentiments on my cards, but it's great for layouts too. So I'm going to get this cut out. Isn't that cute? But I want the center cut out. So I'm going to flip back over my VersaMat. This is a self-healing mat, so just grab an X-Acto knife, and this is super easy. We're just going to cut a rectangle. I'm not sure why they didn't kind of work this into the die. I don't know, but it's easy enough to do this, and that way we can tuck the tools inside the little toolbox, and I think it's going to be really cute. Now I have a marker. This is muted brown, and even though I stamped this in Mocha ink, it's okay. I don't mind if the lines kind of blend just a little bit, and make sure you let all of your stamped images dry completely before adding any color to them, because even the intense black will bleed if you haven't given it enough time to dry. I just want to create some shadowing and detail around the edges of this little toolbox. I'll hold it up here in just a moment so you can see what that looks like. Now I also have this silver paint pen. There comes in 3 different sizes, and do you see right on the latch? You probably can't see that, but there's like little hardware drawn in. I'm going to just touch those just ever so slightly to make them look like nails. I'll hold it up and I think you'll be able to see that. Doesn't that look cool? Such a fun little detail. To color my tools, I have selected gold brown, ice gray, and earth brown. And I chose those colors because they complement my layout and also represent or look like the tools in the picture. My son's holding a drill and it is kind of a yellowish color. So I'm just that's where I got my inspiration. These are smaller images, but large enough you can add some shading. So this is the ice gray, and I'm using that for the metal. I was thinking you could do the silver paint pen too, and it would make it really look like metal. So I might just add some details with that. I'm going back and forth between the darker and then the lighter, just kind of adding some shadowing where I think there would be shadows. Let's go ahead and color these. Anything that's metal, I'm coloring in with the ice gray blend. And then we'll do the gold brown for the handles of the tools. And then of course the drill. And I think I'm going to color the level gray actually. You can color your tools any color you want to complement your layout. That is one of the biggest benefits of using stamps to create your embellishments. And maybe you're one of those that has a whole toolbox full of bright pink tools, so your husband will stop stealing them from you. That didn't work for me. Nobody cares what color they are, but you can make your drill pink and it would be so fun. Now that I have that colored, I'm going to grab that silver paint pen and just add a few tiny little details. Now this is a thick paint, so it will go over the black detail lines of your stamped image, so just something to keep in mind. But this one is a super fine tip, so you can really get into those detailed areas there. I will color one of the nails with this one, and then when I hold it up, I think you can see the difference in whichever you like better, the silver or the gray. Let me go ahead and hold this up. Do you see the difference between just the ice gray and then the metallic look of that silver marker? It does really look like metal. That's pretty cool. I went ahead and got everything die cut off camera, and let's just see how these look. I'm kind of excited about this. It's so cute. Just kind of tuck them in there and arrange them just so. Oh, it's so fun. I love it. Let's go ahead and see how these look on the page. Let me just scoot this out of the way and we'll bring the layout back into center here. So there's a couple different spots this can go. This one is kind of an obvious choice. So I could put this down here, but I'm also thinking about adding my journaling there. So that's one idea. Then we've got our title that can go in all sorts of different places. Maybe here, let's move the tools over here and maybe incorporate them with the title. I think they kind of stand out better against that background rather than the pattern paper background on the right. That's cute. We can kind of let that live there for now. I am going to pop the title up on some foam tape just to give that a little bit of dimension and height. And I ran out of my foam tape, so we're going to throw a few foam dots on there. I'm going to leave the backing on for now, just until I'm sure that's where I want to put it. And then we have this cute little screwdriver here and a couple nails. But as I mentioned, I'm thinking about putting my journaling here, and I could put that on a tag. Maybe toffee paper, that might look good. That kind of draws that color over from the toolbox on the other side. I went ahead and cut the tag longer so it kind of hangs over the edge there. I'm going to add just a little bit of white ribbon just to kind of decorate the top. And I'm thinking I'm going to staple this. I finally broke down and bought the Tim Holtz Tiny Attacher. I don't know what my holdup was. I've wanted one for a long time and just never bought it. I guess maybe because I had a stapler, but it's like an office stapler. And I like this thing. It's kind of fun. And I thought the staples reminded me of fence staples, and I want it to be kind of messy. So I'm just putting several up there to secure that ribbon in place. And that is going to be for my journaling. Let's pull in a second tag just to create a little layering back there. That is the wood grain pocket card from the Cosette collection. For this, I think I'm going to use my Setting the Scene stamp set. This is another great background and texture stamp, but there's some journaling lines on here. They're dotted lines, but I thought they're kind of fun, a little different look, and they're offset. Each one is kind of staggered, and I like that look as well. So I think I'm going to do this in Mocha ink, and I do have a sepia Le Pen journaling pen. I will use that to add my journaling in my own handwriting. That looks pretty cute. Let's add a little bit more to this actually. Whoops, come back here tag. There's this little nail stamp. I thought I could do another couple little layer overlapping, but you know what? There's one on the stamp set that's already overlapping. It actually creates a border. There's nails and little bolts, but I just want the nails. You can cut your stamps. It's called stamp surgery and it's okay. You can put them right back together. Some images are a little bit tricky and you don't want to cut them because it's too close, but this case was super easy to separate those. And now I have little nails perfectly overlapped and I can decorate the corner of my tag. There are stamped phrases included in this set that say before and after, and I thought that would be kind of fun to add to this layout, although I don't technically have the true before shot. We had a lattice fence and they had already torn it down, so it's kind of like the before it was done, so it still works, but we had lattice, and the problem was my in-laws live next door on the property, and when my dogs and her dogs could see each other through the fence, they would just bark and hurl insults at each other. It was terrible. It was right outside my front door. So we decided a solid fence was definitely needed, and it looks so good and definitely did the job. The dogs, out of sight, out of mind. They can go out the door without yelling at each other. I'm trimming these into squares, but I do end up changing them later. So we have the before one. I'm going to put that up top, and then after, and I'm thinking we can kind of put that maybe right here, or we could put it here. And actually, let's go right here. And then I still have this really cute little screwdriver I want to use. So I'll leave this guy out. Let's put it right here, a little cluster. And then I have these like very old metal embellishments. They look kind of like nail heads. So I'm going to put that one there. Now, there's this cute little broken fence from these paperboard shapes that come along with this collection. And I thought that's kind of fun because the old lattice fence was broke down and they're repairing it. So I thought, what better place to use the broken fence? Now, it's not really standing out. We get a lot of kind of toffee color going on. So I'm adding a little bit of Mocha ink just to darken that. So it will have a stronger contrast from the background. That's cute. I like it. Now, off camera, after I filmed this, I did end up adding one more tag up behind the tool. So you'll have to go on over to my social media accounts, Facebook, Pinterest, or Instagram to see that added tag. But if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Let me know what you're working on, what type of home improvement projects you're working on in the comments down below. If you're looking for more masculine layout ideas, you might want to watch this playlist right here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon on YouTube.